Because we won't need this for executive session if we have the old digital recorder. Because you only have the members in the
Got it.
room. Oh, never mind.
Hey, Chris.
All right, Carrie, everything is
All right,
live
we're
and
set.
streaming.
Well, good morning to everybody joining us here in person and virtually. Today is May 23rd, and this is the monthly meeting of BOCES at RMSEL. And we'll start with introductions. I'm Carrie Olson, and I represent Denver Public Schools on the BOCES board. I'm representing Lewis and Public Schools. And again, school district. Becky Myers, Douglas County School District. And we have Jalen Jenkins joining us virtually. I'm not sure if she's in a place yet where she can introduce herself. And I know, oh, good, Jalen, sorry.
Hi, Jalen Jenkins, PEBC, and yeah, I'll be off camera. Just
Welcome, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
And Michelle Ortiz had a conflict with graduation.
Chad Burns, RMSEL, Executive Director.
Julie Stelzer, RMSEL Finance Director. RMSEL Enrollment Coordinator. So welcome to everybody. And with that, I will call this meeting to order. First of all, I'd like to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for today, May 23rd? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Agenda is approved. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from April 18th? Motion to approve the minutes. And do I have a second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And with that, it passes. I will now turn it over to Director Chad Burns for the Executive Director report.
All right, you have a copy of that in your folders there. Just want to begin. Today's the last day with students here at RMSEL. And then we have 2 days of passage presentations and then 4 passage ceremonies and graduation on Friday. So this is certainly a marathon week, but our kids are super engaged with making sure that their final products are prepared to be presented tomorrow and excited about concluding the school year. As you walked in this morning, felt really good here for our students to return on Friday as kind of the last culminating measure for kind of a return to post-pandemic normal. Our 5th grade students did get to go sailing in Catalina this year. And that felt really good to wrap up the school year. Our 8th graders got to, all 52 8th graders went to Washington, D.C. And so it feels like we are back to a sense of normalcy. And so congratulations to our adventure coordinators, staff, teachers, everyone for making this an amazing school year, feeling great for kids. And it feels good to be at the last day of school, but knowing we have work to do this week and getting ready for planning for next year, which we'll hear about in my report. So it was a pleasure last Thursday. President Dr. Carrie Olson got to attend the Colorado Department of Education Awards ceremony with me. We dodged a flood and then got to share with other school leaders across the state. And we received once again our accreditation with Distinction Award. And so Carrie asked I bring that here today before we hung it up in the hallway. To be accredited with distinction, you may have to meet 74% of the total targets. As a K-12 school, we take every assessment. We measure achievement, growth, and post-secondary readiness. And post-pandemic 2022, we scored the highest number of targets at 82% that we've ever scored as a school on our school performance framework. So huge thanks to an amazing teaching staff, supportive parent community, and determined group of kids. Carrie, do you want to say anything about that?
It was an amazing ceremony to see the State Board of Education members there and the commissioner and see all the schools that have won awards, especially coming out of the pandemic. I think it was a great boost. And I think it's also a testament to your leadership, Chad. Thank you for inviting me. We got our picture taken with Kathy Plomer and the commissioner. So it was very, very exciting. So just thank you for all your hard work. And there's the banner. So.
So in honor of thinking about the final day of school, but also thinking ahead, we work with a dynamic team of professionals. Thank you to Chris and Leslie. Last year, we piloted a program called Early Bird Registration. Here at RMSEL, we collect an extensive health history on every single student. And the reason we do that is we take students to Catalina, Washington, D.C., other places. And in the event that we have to attend the ER, our ER attending staff and doctors love that we come with a complete medical history, but it takes a bit of time for us to go through that file for each kid, organize it into an individual spreadsheet that's digestible to teachers, wilderness first responders, and staff. And so we tried this last year and it was incredibly successful, where for 3 weeks in the month of May, we offered a discount to parents of $25 and a hooded sweatshirt if they would go through the process of completing registration early. With the success of that last year, we did it again this year. It concluded last Friday. We had over 50% of our families participate in that. So that gives us time before the Infinite Campus rollover in July to get in, organize those files, get our spreadsheets started, make sure that we are significantly ahead of August. And while it feels good to be ahead, I also think Chris and Leslie would share that the final 2 days last week were a bit stressful as we had a line out the door to both offices, making sure kids got registered. So feels good to be ahead, feels good to give our staff the opportunity and time to get through the majority of that information and be prepared for next school year. Spoke to this to start over the next 2 days. Students in 3rd, 5th, and 8th grade will present their findings from their portfolio reading day and their presentation. Each presentation is a unique opportunity for students to speak to a panel of 3 community members, 1 staff member, and 2 parents and or guests. And that process is an opportunity for those students to highlight their academic achievements of the year, growth of their character, and things that they look forward to focusing on as they transition to the next series of grades. So 5th graders going into 6th grade and intermediate school, our 10th graders getting ready for their final 2 years towards graduation. And so just an amazing process to see this. It takes over 100 volunteers for us to go through this reading process with fidelity. And I want to thank Leah, who stepped in. This is her professional classroom. She's our instructional coach. Leah, Lindsay Emery, our director of elementary education, and Margaret Bierman, parent volunteer, for helping organize food and just making sure that this went off successfully. And so just a huge thanks. And we get to celebrate with those kids 3rd, 5th, 8th, 10th here at RMSEL on Friday. You have calendar invitations for those ceremonies. If you were able to attend, you were certainly welcome to. I put them in there as optional. And then know that graduation is at 4 p.m. at the First Universalist Church, which is on the corner of Hamden and Colorado Boulevard. To celebrate 18 graduates this year and recognize our student work. Next item here is we'll get a little rest, a little Memorial Day holiday. It's always nice for certainly board members, staff, RMSEL teachers, community, but we jump right back into things. We have a crew leadership retreat where we have our remote instructional coach flying in from Montana. We have our instructional leader in Leah Wesselman, myself, my directors of elementary and secondary education, and then a teacher representative from every school level. So lower school, intermediate school, middle school, high school, specialist team, and our learning specialist and special education department. And we will be together for 4 days, Tuesday through Friday, planning for a successful start to next school year. We develop and finalize our EL work plan, which guides our professional development every Wednesday morning and sets us up for success. So we'll take a brief pause of a nice holiday weekend and then jump right back into the work of making sure that next year is an outstanding school year for students and kids and families.
Thank you.
Happy last day.
Yeah, happy last day. I'll now open it up for anybody who has any comments or questions for Chad.
So, Chad, I'm curious how the privacy concerns on the medical side of that, how does that work?
So we keep that all confidential and secure in the office. And then when we go out on a trip, the staff member attending receives a file for students, and we retain that file unless we would go to receive definitive medical care. And that is a paper-based process, not a digital process. So permission to participate risk acknowledgement and health history is still a hard copy signature and form from families. So we don't have a third party site.
Anyone else? Jalen, I'll make sure that I'm watching you. No questions. Thank you. I'd just like to acknowledge all the hard work of this past year and all that your staff has done to make sure the students are prepared for the next year and had a great, enjoyable year with all their trips. And I look forward to graduation. I know I'm going to try and make it to some of the passages on Friday. I know it's graduation season for all of us, so we're all swamped, but I'm going to try and come to some. Thank you. All right, with that, do we have anybody for open forum this morning? Nope. All right, just wanted to be sure I'm acknowledging that. On our consent agenda, we just have one item, personnel matters. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Do I have a second? Great. And all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jalen. And Jalen also acknowledged, I missed this, that she's also excited for graduation. So just reading what she's saying in the chat. So yes, RMSEL's graduations are something very special. The individual attention to each of the 18 students is always something I look forward to. So thank you. We'll now move on to the discussion item of the 2023-2024 budget.
So you all should receive in your packet and then also digitally the budget for the 23-24 year. I'm gonna go through and kind of highlight some of the changes. When you look at this, the column that says dollar change is the change between the last budget you approved, which was the supplemental in April, and what we're proposing for next year. So going through that, we saw about a 9.4% increase in our PPR, which was lovely. We don't have ALPA funding yet, so that came out of the budget. There was a little bit of a difference in the BOCES funding for this year. And the REDAC funding will get later, so that'll come in the revised budget. The big one on this front page is the ESSER funds that go away, about $600,000. Those came into this year and are used in this year. The next section in income or revenue is the fees. So those amounts represent the fee increase you approved. And then you might remember from April, we had to do a revised budget for our district accountability committee because they had decided not to do an auction this year. And that has a direct impact on our budget as a school. So took out the fundraising. Here you're seeing the fundraising go back in for the auction that we're proposing in October. That's nothing on that page. Next page, you see the same corresponding ESSER fund expenses coming out there. We don't have those anymore. Discretionary expense at this point is just a flood figure. So if we go up or down with anything, the offset's going to discretionary. There was a little bit of an increase on our insurance. You can see there for $5,300. And on the next page, not a whole lot of change in the general administrative budget. And when you get down to custodial, that number adjusts back to what they are making monthly for cleaning our building. You see a little decrease in the insurance there for autos under minibuses. Let's see, special ed fees went up a little bit, and there's actually, since we did this, there's been a change to the cost of our nurse and our school psychologist. So you'll see those amounts go up. We had in here the nurse was $18,854, and the nurse was going up to $20,862 per day. And psychologist was at $21,710, and it's going up to $23,799. So those are two changes you'll see. They'll adjust this line item, and the offset will be to that discretionary expense. Going down through here, there was a big jump in big decrease in the money that DAC raises, and the offset for that is that 42,500 that shows up on line 66,100. It's on page 4 of 6. So you're seeing that go back up to what we're going to have money coming into the school And I don't think they've decided yet what the purpose of the fundraising is. Is that correct, Chad?
Correct.
Going on down through there was a big increase in this year to really go through all of our equipment and get rid of stuff that was obsolete or damaged or waiting to be repaired that couldn't be repaired. So that's why there was such a huge increase in this year's adventure supply budget. That's going back down. The money that is in the instructional support resources, it's going down. That originally was in there for the language learning at Cherry Creek. What's the name of that school?
Elevation.
Elevation. So that money's coming out of there because we have in-house world language, Spanish. Next page is just increases and decreases based on students for spending the fee for work fee accounts. Discounts, we put the discounts taken back down to 8,500 to see how that rolls with the early bird registration and the families who are asking for the 10% optional discount for 3 kids. One new item in this is the $30,000 for the woofers. This is a pot of, right now, the way that we have, the woofer is. Wilderness first responder.
Okay,
So on all of our trips that go into the backcountry, we take at least 1 to 3 woofers with us. Those woofers, the cost per day right now comes out of their fieldwork fee accounts. So this is an effort to try and keep. We have several that we turn over, use for roster of people. So this is trying to help out some of that money that's coming out of their fee accounts. Not much change in professional development. And last page is just the salaries and benefits page. So there's up down there with the salary schedule, that affects Medicare and para. There was a slight increase in our premiums for health insurance. What else is in the para's a lot. 21.4%. And we took the stipend account back down by 50,000. That's kind of an upshot of it. This is your first glance at it. And then the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks.
Yeah. June 6th.
When this gets approved for the final, you can approve it or not. And then the resolutions that have to go with it, for budget rollover and the gas B-50 for it. So are there any questions about it? The budget as it stands now?
Not seeing any questions, and Jalen doesn't have any questions.
Do you have anything to add, Chad?
Hold on a second. No, I think very accurate. Julie and I discussed this prior to. I think the big number that comes out is those ESSER funds, and I spoke to that in my executive director evaluation, kind of how we utilize those. We utilize those for human capital, to offset funds to bring other revenues into the building for instructional support supplies, adventure support. We also provided $200,000 of that allocated dollar to retention stipends for staff. So we try to get money back in the hands of our teachers whenever we can, and so we thought that was a valuable use of those funds to give the people that make school happen. I would say one thing that will not adjust this year, but it will adjust next year, is with the transition of Cherry Creek and Douglas County out of the BOCES, that funding assistance will drop $50,000 to $75,000, because that's a metric measured off of how many enrolled students those districts have in totality, and they take a proportion of that. So we will see that come down. But as long as we keep seeing funding increases around 9% that we saw this year, which was a great attribute from the legislative session, we hope that we can continue moving forward at that rate to compensate teachers to live in the Denver metro community. So solid budget, great work to Julie and the team that puts this together, and feel good about moving into next school year.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, hard
If
work.
there's ever any questions when you walk out of here, like, how'd you get this number, please just email me or call me.
Thank you for always being so accommodating when you have questions. We appreciate it. Great. So the next item on our agenda is action items, and I see nothing listed can be there. So we will move into report items with the budget report.
So you should have received our actual, budget to actual as of April 30th. There's not any big change in this. I mean, we just screwed up the budget with this, with the supplemental. The last time we met, so there aren't any big changes here. The biggest overages and variance that you see are gonna be in the field work and those fee accounts. So we probably next year needs to raise our fees a little more than the 1%, because we're having to backfill right now to make some of those things happen. So you see variances there. Does anybody have any questions about this? I don't have a whole lot to say.
I'll comment. It's nice to have a second set of eyes. Last Friday, Julie and I conducted our annual meeting with Moody's, our credit rating agency. Moody's took a deep dive into where we are, what the future looks like for the organization. They've read through the BOCES memo with the district transitions. They went through the audit. They went through the proposed budget for next year, and really compare us to other schools of our size that are going out for credit ratings. We're obviously not going for credit, but they do maintain our rating every single year in the event that we would need to make some type of adjustment. And so great meeting with Ken from Moody's, solid consideration of all the great things that are happening, and his word that he used kind of continuously through that conversation, and they'll produce a final report, which the board will receive is stable, stable enrollment, stable classroom size, stable teacher retention, stable retention of students, stable budget, stable support of a governance model. And so just an attribute to all parties and stakeholders that make RMSEL successful.
And he did say in that call there is the potential, when he takes it back to committee, of our rating to go up to an investment grade. That doesn't help us at all. Our payments are set, the bonds have been sold, so it'd be nice, but it doesn't help us. So there'll be a press release coming out 2 weeks, is that what you said?
Yep.
Any other questions? And with that, it's time for us to move into executive session for purposes of discussing the executive director evaluation for school year 2022-2023 pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024F. Do I have a motion to move into executive session? Motion to move to executive session. Do I have a second? Second. And I think for this we call roll, right? Yeah. Oh, did you have something like that? Right, but don't you call roll first to indicate that we all are, or just, I thought if we had executive session, they'll have to give ascension.
We can.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Aye. Annie Egan. Angela Christensen. Aye. Harry Olson.
Aye.
Jalen Jenkins.
Aye.
Perfect. Motion passes. We will move to the other Zoom link and then we will come back. Thank you.